if you're looking for a value for money solution for towing.
Now that's dropped all the way down to third gear.
But the other thing that gets me with the Patrol too, like you're spending so much money.
On the day of pickup, our only issue was our tow ball. Would we buy the same car, exactly the same car?
I'm Lani.
And I'm Vedat.
This is our son Zeki. And together we're going to take you on
another Oz adventure.
Welcome back for part 2 of our Ranger review series.
Thank you for the overwhelmingly positive responses with that first video. It was something a little bit different. We thought we'll just try something short and sweet, grab everyone's attention.
Bit of infotainment,
yeah,
information
that's
with
right.
entertainment in there.
And for all those people that don't take life too seriously, welcome back.
Welcome to part 2.
So, what have we got for part 2?
Part 2, we're just going to go a bit more in depth here, guys. So we will touch back on the stuff we brought up in part 1 and just give you a bit more detail. So first of all, we'll start off with, we have a V6 Wildtrak. As we mentioned in part 1, we used to have a Nissan Navara, which is a 4-cylinder bi-turbo. So this being a 6-cylinder single turbo, a bit different. I guess you can talk to it because Vedat does most of the towing around here.
Yeah, biggest. So we've been, just a brief history, we've been towing probably for the last 10 years, not caravans though. So we've been towing a lot of car trailers, and all the tow vehicles that we've had are either 4-cylinder petrol and or diesels. Jumping into the Ranger, the Caravan's the first thing and the only thing it's towed, and it's day and night.
Yeah.
The experience of having a V6 diesel compared to a 4-cylinder it literally is night and day. And I can't even imagine what it'd be like to tow with a V8 diesel as well. Like it doesn't struggle at all.
Yeah.
And it's, whether it be, going up steep hills, overtaking when you need to. I don't really like to overtake with a caravan on the back, but sometimes you just have to. It is confidence inspiring. Like it just, you feel comfortable knowing that, one, it can easily do the job, and two, it's not working or wringing its neck like a 4-cylinder would in some instances to pull it around. So like if you've watched our previous weights video that we did where we got the Ranger and the Caravan weighed, you'd all know that the Caravan weighs around about 2.6 tonne when it's fully loaded, and with ease. I mean, based on our calculations, legally we could easily tow just over the 3 tonne mark with this car as well, and that was probably one of the biggest reasons why we went with the Ranger. It wasn't about getting something that could just do the towing that we needed, but we wanted to future-proof a little bit as well. So if ever in the future we do upgrade our Musketeer to something a little bit bigger or heavier, this car could do it. It does it with ease. So that's the great thing about composite caravans. You don't have to worry about towing something that's 3 tonne and above nowadays. You just don't.
I guess if you want more information on that, you can check out our weighing video as well, just to give you an idea of what our van weighs in at and what payloads we were left with in the car.
So we touched on it briefly as well. So in the part 1, we talked about tow mode in this car. So the greatest thing about this level of Ranger is it has the brake controller by default. That was something we would take into consideration before we even looked at buying this car.
Yeah.
And when we found out that it came with it, we thought, it made our decision a lot easier when it came to buying this. So that works out of the box. Plugged it in, and it works the way it should.
Yeah.
You adjust, the gain depending on how it feels when you're braking and all that. But all in all, really easy to use. It's essentially just plug and play. It had no dramas at all with our Crusader. And the settings that you put in. So we mentioned blind spot monitoring that comes with this car and how it's adjustable when you throw in the dimensions of your Caravan. It also has a small little feature where you can test your lights as well. So once you're plugged in, you can run a test and it'll go through your indicators and your brake just to make sure that it is all working. So that's a cool little feature that's built into it. And it also has, I mean, a lot of utes nowadays come with this, but the camera on this car is really good. And there's been many a times where I've hooked up the van without Lani's help at all. So
Without an argument.
yeah, without an argument. So I mean, yeah, you reverse into it, and there's a button where it gives you a different angle, more of a bird's eye view, so you can really line it up. With the van. So. All in all, and I think the biggest...
It's really geared towards, it's like a tow-friendly vehicle.
Yeah.
They've actually considered it with the trailer dimensions, with the tow ball, with the brake controller. So it is, and with the tow mode for driving. It's really geared towards that.
And I mean, the biggest one is the
tow mode, the engine braking.
The engine braking, yeah. That caught me by surprise because it works, without boring you guys too much, it works in a couple of different ways, which I didn't know when I first picked the car up. At first, obviously... All right, guys, so a quick demonstration on the Ford Ranger during the tow mode operation. So we're just on the top of Mount Ousley, which is a steep hill around Wollongong area. And what's going to happen is, I'm in 7th gear at the moment. We're going to start climbing down the gears. And what I'm going to do is just let it roll and then dab on the brake maybe a bit. And then you'll notice that the car is going to automatically drop down gears. So I haven't hit the brake yet. I'm touching the brakes now. Now that's dropped all the way down to 3rd gear. So you can see that it's trying to hold its revs. And that's done that automatically. So that's one of the cool things about the actual tow mode on this. Now it'll hold that gear for as long as it can. This is an 80k zone here, so I'm dabbing on the brakes here, but yeah, just that functionality of it being able to drop down gears automatically. You can see it's read the speedo at 80 kilometers an hour, so if I hadn't touched the brakes, it would have eventually actually dropped down gears for me. Because it senses that we're pointed downhill. And that's just a short demonstration, on how the declining engine braking feature works on the next gen Ford Ranger. At first, obviously, it knows, as I mentioned, when you're going downhill, it'll automatically drop down. It's just an awesome experience. I actually think it makes towing so much easier. It might be doing a disservice to my towing skills because the car's doing, a lot of the work for you. But I mean, yeah, for the features that come with the car, you definitely value for money.
We paid $76 for this Wildtrak, and I think value for money wise, if you're looking for a value for money solution for towing, I don't think you can overlook this car. Considering that it's very heavily geared towards towing. The fact that we had about 500 kilos worth of payload left in the car on the rear axle once the van was hooked up. And the fact that it comes with things that other utes around that price point don't come with, like roof racks, your roller shutter on the tray. That's like normally another $3,000 to $4,000 just there. The brake controller, again, normally you'd have to pay extra to fit that to any vehicle if you're going to tow. It also comes with anti-sway. So I think, value for money wise, it is excellent. It is excellent value for money. When you consider that none of the other dual cabs on typically that are sold on the Australian market just don't come anywhere near the GCM. And if you are looking for a vehicle that's up around that 6.4 GCM and you are considering your Land Cruisers or Patrols, they have a similar payload or less in some cases. So you then need to spend, even though there's maybe already a $40,000 difference, you then need to spend more money on a GVM upgrade. So definitely, I think if you're towing a much larger van and you need the vehicle to have that weight, because keep in mind your vehicle should always be heavier than what you're towing for safety. You should at least be 10% under with the van weight versus your car. So we were.
And that's at least.
That's minimum. Yeah, we're actually 95%.
Yeah.
So our car could have been a little bit heavier. But when we got weighed, we didn't have firewood in the back that we normally put. We didn't have our bags in the back that we normally put, and all of little man and all of his stuff. So when we went for our last trip and we fully loaded up, we definitely would have been within that safe limit. And you can actually tell the difference when you're towing too.
Yeah.
Like once we put all the firewood and stuff in there, it does have a much smoother ride.
Segue to the next sort of my experience with the Ranger when we first picked it up, as opposed to now. What's our 6th or 7th trip now?
Something like that, yeah.
Initially, when we first started going out, there was really nothing in the car, nothing in the tray, so a lot of the weight was in the event. And you could tell I was around 95 miles an hour. Moral of the story: definitely bigger car if you can help it. If it was within the price, in the budget, and it was, I could see the value for money, I would have been Patrol any day. Like, I wanted a V8.
It does sound sick.
It sounds awesome, like it's just, and we watched plenty of reviews on them and other people that use them for towing.
But the other thing that gets me with the Patrol too, like you're spending so much money and the tech doesn't come anywhere near.
No, that was the biggest letdown. That was the biggest
when
letdown.
you think about parting with all that extra cash and you feel like you're getting less, like obviously yes, the performance is in the engine, but when you feel like you're getting so much less for that extra money, and then knowing we probably would have had to spend more on upgrades on top of that additional cost, it just, we couldn't justify it.
This car and tech, with maybe the V8 in the front. Yeah, nice.
But in saying that, we're talking value for money solution, I mean, especially on fuel and stuff as well. Yeah. This car is pretty good. It's between 15 and 20 litres depending on how full we are. So I'd say 20 litres is absolute max. I don't think it's ever really gotten there, to be honest. But yeah, it's great value for money if that's something you're looking for. And if you're not towing too heavy of a van, it's fit for purpose.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. And I guess when we picked up on the day of pickup, our only issue was our tow ball. So the original one that come with the Ranger, it was too low. And again, it was too low for our particular caravan. Obviously, your experiences may vary depending on the Crusader that you end up with or your caravan that you end up with, but our caravan was sitting a little bit higher just because of the independent suspension that was in there. So it wasn't a case of, could we flip it? Technically, you could flip it and you could make it work. But, you sort of...
Not all tow tongues are engineered to be used in both orientations.
No.
And the one that comes with the Ranger standard, or at least the Wildtrak, was not engineered.
It's specifically said by Ford,
yeah.
You're not allowed to, you shouldn't flip it.
Yeah.
So
just be mindful, I guess, as well, if you're in a situation where you're thinking about flipping the tow tongue on your vehicle, just make sure that it is suitable to do that, that's all. Yeah.
Apart from that, it's been a really good experience.
Yeah, we're happy so far. Obviously, we haven't done that many Ks. I think there's only 13,000 Ks on the clock yet. Time will obviously tell, especially with towing. We're definitely testing the limits of the engine, so we will keep you posted, but fingers crossed, so far so good. And you know what, I think sometimes stuff does just happen. I would just hope that Ford would be good about whatever warranty claims we end up coming up against. And that's the main thing. Like, you're always going to have issues, but if they deal with it in a reasonable way, then
we put our names down for this car. We waited a good 14 months before it got delivered, and during that time I was online looking at everyone's reviews, and you always had good or bad, but the negative things are always going to be highlighted, because at the end of the day, it is the number one selling car in Australia.
Yeah. So it's going to have more issues than any other car because there's more of them out there.
If it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. Like if a motor's going to blow, or a line's going to go off, or the electrical's going to have an issue with it, mate, doesn't matter what car you get. If you're unlucky, you're unlucky.
Yeah.
And whether that be buying something secondhand or buying something new, there's nothing to say a new car is going to last as long as a secondhand or vice versa. Yeah. Sometimes it is literally just pot luck. Yeah. But so far, fingers crossed, nothing goes wrong with this car. Mm-hmm. We've had a really good experience. This is Lani's daily, so she's a slow, safe driver. She doesn't. So she lets the car warm up before she drives and does all of that, don't you?
Yeah. I'm very sensible.
Yeah.
I guess one thing from a mum perspective and everyday user, something that I really like about this ute that I didn't have in my Navara, which was my pet hate of my Navara, or just having a ute as a everyday car, is not having a boot, especially when you do shopping and like, you know, trying to put it in the back seat when you park next to people, opening your door, squeezing it in. This Ranger has rails inside the boot, and there's an optional extra that you can get, which is a tub divider, and you can actually position it anywhere along the tray you want. So if you're doing shopping, you can keep it right near the tailgate and have just enough room for shopping bags, so that way they're not rummaging up and down the tray. I've got it pushed back a little bit further so I can just squeeze the pram just in the back section, and that's been great. I love it because now I actually can use it as a boot.
I think it was around about the
$500?
Yeah, $500 mark-ish. I don't remember now, but it was around about that to have that.
Yeah.
That was installed prior to pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Would we buy the same car, exactly the same car?
I think so. Like, that's why the only reason I hesitated there is because I actually really like the look of the Everest. And
We had a couple of people ask about the Everest. So we were looking at the Everest as well, and obviously for us, we were trying to future-proof as much as possible with GCMs and all that, and we knew that the Everest wasn't on par with the Wildtrak with regards to the GCM, but if we could...
It was close. I think it's 150-ish difference depending on which model you get.
But that and when we picked this up, the Everest wasn't available either. Like, it was still another 6 to 8 months after we picked this up. Did that become available? If that had the GCM of this... I think we would have went the Everest instead, just because of looks.
But price dependent too. I think the Everest is a little bit more expensive than this.
It was a little bit more.
So probably no, we wouldn't have changed because our budget was our budget and the timing was the timing.
That's
so
right,
we wouldn't have. But that is why I hesitated, because I do like the look of the Everest.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. So hopefully that had sufficient detail. Hopefully you made it to the end of the video. So thanks guys, hope you found that helpful. We will see you in the next one.
Ciao, bye.
Bye.